Hey friends, I'm Sam, Director of Religious Education at Chalice UU Fellowship. Welcome to my tiny little corner of my home, my itty bitty kitchen. Come on in, I'm glad you're here. What are we doing? Making sweet treats. Why? Well, why not? Why wouldn't you want to make sweet treats, especially during the holiday season? This time is to share in something fun, something simple, and something that the entire family can participate in and hopefully everyone enjoy. I know I enjoy these. These meaning this treat that I'm sharing with you this week that is so easy. I call them pretzel turtles. You might have a different name for them if you've seen these or eaten these before. I discovered them on a package of Rolos several years ago. Never looked back because they're delicious. People want them, people request them, people eat them, people appreciate them, and that just makes me happy. What is a pretzel turtle? Well, first off, what's a turtle? And I'm not talking about animals, I'm talking about the sweet, yummy candy treats. A clump of delicious caramel that has typically pecans either inside it or crunched and rolled around it, and the whole thing is swallowed up in chocolate. Milk chocolate, dark chocolate, milk and dark chocolate. Depending on what candy store you go into, it's always a variety. But your basic one is caramel, pecans, and chocolate, and they are heavenly. And also incredibly messy to make in your own kitchen unless you're just really good at making candy, which if you are, bless you, I'm coming on over as soon as I'm done with this video. This version is much simpler. It requires 3 ingredients. That's it, 3 ingredients. And they don't take nearly as long as a regular turtle. It's pretzels, little cute twisty little pretzels, Rolos, good old delicious caramely Rolos. Kids, you guys get the benefit of unwrapping all of these Rolos because it takes a lot of time. And we trust you with this. This is totally you. If you wanted to use something besides a Rolo, maybe caramel Hershey Kisses could work, but Rolos are great because first off of their shape, it makes them easy to smush when they're soft enough, and the chocolate shell is thick so caramel doesn't run everywhere, and the caramel is like the perfect thickness so it doesn't run everywhere. And lastly, we need our pecans. You want whole pieces, even though this one's missing a corner, you get the idea. Crunched up pecans really don't work as well for this. To start off, set your oven to 250. Doesn't need to be super hot. 250 is perfect for this. Cookie sheet with a piece of parchment paper, or if you have silicone mats, that's great too. Way to save the environment if you've got them. I'm on my way. I like to use up the stuff that I have before I replace it with something more environmentally friendly. I'm working on it. Pretzels, spread them out on your sheet. Don't put them right up next to each other because it doesn't leave any space to do the smushing when the Rolos are warm enough. About 1 inch apart works well. Gluten-free pretzels work just as well and are just as delicious. I've made both with gluten-y pretzels? I don't know. Pro-gluten? Extra gluten? I don't know what you'd call them. But I've used them, and then I've used gluten-free pretzels. Which if you've ever tasted them sans chocolate and nuts, they're just as good. I love crunchy, salty goodness. I love sweet and gooey goodness. Maybe that's why I like these so much. I don't know. I'm a sweet and salty person. I don't know about you. I love sweet and salty. I love the combination. I think that's why I like chocolate covered pretzels so much, because of the sweet and salty combo. I remember my mom telling me years ago that she knew that I'd had a rough day when she'd get home and find me with a bowl of popcorn and a handful of M&Ms. I just needed that sweet and salty, and it worked. It perked my mood up perfectly. So once you've got your pretzels all lined out, top them with a Rolo. Up and down on top of the pretzel. I wouldn't try this with larger pretzels. You want to go with smaller ones. When you go to smush them, the caramel and chocolate's just going to go right through the pretzel. Nothing's going to stick. And we want these to stick. We want them to get together like birds and bees and peanut butter and jelly and coffee cake and apple strudel. You know, they all stick together. Coffee cake and apple strudel, coffee and apple strudel. Although, if you wanted to make a coffee cake apple strudel thingy, I have no judgment against you. I would like to get that recipe if you've discovered something like that. Call me. I don't know. And it looks like I have just enough Rolos for this particular tray. Right on. Sweet. Into the oven. This is for an older child, youth, adult, you know. Young ones don't necessarily need to be sticking things into the oven. This takes a steady hand because occasionally you get a Rolo that likes to tip, because it's not like pretzels are a completely flat surface. Kids, again, you get the timer duty. 3 minutes, or up to 5 minutes, depending on your oven and how warm it gets and how steady it is. My oven, 3 minutes I have found works perfectly, but kids, you are in charge of the timer, because what child does not love to tell their parents what to do, right? Mom, dad, or maybe grandma, grandpa, or uncle, auntie, cousin, whoever, you need to go take that out of the oven. Time's up. We're constantly giving you a timer and putting you on timeout. I hope we're not putting you on timeout, because you kids are amazing. That's my thought. So 3 minutes works out perfectly. The goal is you don't want the Rolo to completely melt while it's in the oven. You still want it to hold its delicious Rolo shape. When the chocolate almost looks like it's sweaty, it's got a nice glisten to it. You know, it's been outside on a warm summer day and it's not necessarily dripping, but it could use a cold iced tea. That's the look that you're going for. A nice, damp, shiny look to the chocolate. Then you know it's soft enough. If you're starting to push your pecans in and you find that your pecan broke, like this one I'm going to show you that I already did, it wasn't quite warm enough. And when chocolate can break a pecan, it needs to go back in the oven. And you can see, I'll show you on this broken one, since I just showed you this deliciousness. The chocolate spreads out around the sides, and when it's softer, it gets an even nicer spread. And if it's too melty, then you get caramel really oozing out. Luckily, you can just make another batch and eat the mess ups. That's for those of us who like to be in the kitchen. You don't mind breaking a cookie or two or getting a muffin that is a little crumbly, because then you get to eat it. And yeah, that's where my hips came from, is eating all of the testers. Almost done. We've got 20 more seconds before we take out the Rolos. But yeah, you don't want them running. We don't want Rolo soup. You need the nice mush, like a marshmallow. You get the nice mush into it without it blowing out everywhere. And that's the point where the kids are telling the adults, take it out of the oven now, please. Ever so carefully. And now you gotta get to work. You don't have to move so fast it doesn't get solid super quick. Get your pecan. You want to grab it at the sides, and the flat end gets pushed into the Rolo. Oh yes, that's a perfect turtle. And you just give it a nice smush. I know that they're smaller and I'm a little ways away, but you can kind of get the idea, right? And smush it right down in the middle. And you want it, I'm going to pick up this one that I just smushed. See how it gets that lovely, beautiful spread. You can see how the chocolate's got a little bit of a shine to it. That's what you're looking for. None of the caramel is oozing out. And it's okay if it comes out the bottom, because that just means it's going to stick to the pretzel. And that's why we use parchment paper or silicone mats, because do you really want that sticking to your pans? Not really. No. Chocolate washes off fine. Caramel can be a tricky little booger. I enjoy caramel. I can't eat as much of it as I would like, but I do love caramel. Caramel sauce, caramel chewies, the caramel pops from C's. Those are delectable. When McDonald's used to have a little more, not on the floor, when McDonald's used to have a little more variety to their sundaes, my favorite was always the caramel sundae. Getting a sundae from a ice cream shop, caramel's preferred to fudge, but that's just me. Again, it's that salty thing, right? Caramel tends to be a little saltier, which I don't know if you've ever made caramel. It's not like it's got a lot of salt in it, but just that slight, how something so sweet and sugary can have just a little bit of savory oomph to it. Beats me. I don't know. I just follow the recipes. I'm not some fancy Food Network person, trust me. Now you see I stopped with the nuts. If you have a nut allergy, a tree nut allergy, and you can't do pecans, or if you're like me, where you can't really eat whole nuts, but you don't have an allergy, or maybe you just don't like nuts, put another pretzel on top. What? They're like pretzel turtle sandwiches without the nuts. And they're just as delicious. And they're just as fun to eat. When I've gotten the turtle requests in the past, I have been asked, can you do it without the nut? I like it with just the pretzel. I don't care for pecans. This works. I discovered this little dealio with the double pretzels with a kiddo that I was cooking up with, and he loves these, but he doesn't like the texture of nuts. The flavor, yes, the texture, not so much. So we brainstormed together and we're like, well, we have to put something on it. Oh, I like the pretzels. Let's stick another pretzel on top. No problem. And I just got a couple more here. So it's the same yummy goodness without the nutty texture, whatever it is. They're still just as good, and they're still just as poppable. And here's one right here that's just the two pretzels sandwiched together, and it is still so good. Once you've got all of your goodies smushed up, let them be. Take a half an hour, go watch a show, go take a walk, go take a nap. I'm pro naps. I love naps. Come back in about a half an hour or so, and just letting it sit and harden, and they're perfect. They don't need to go in the fridge or the freezer. Just leave them out on the counter and go. Stick them in a piece of Tupperware or a Ziploc baggie when you're done, and they store beautifully, and they can store for a few weeks. I haven't tried putting them in the freezer to see if they last longer. I will leave that in your hands. But until then, oh. Mm-hmm. Oh. Mm. Mm. And it's sweet, and it's salty, and it's crunchy, and it's chewy, and it's something that is making me drool. But whether you're 3 or you're 83, anyone can make these. You don't have to be a whiz in the kitchen. You just have to love food. And I love this time with you. I hope I get to see you again. Who knows what we'll make next for a sweet treat. I've been Sam. I'm gonna eat some more pretzel turtles. Have fun, be safe, be healthy, and have a blessed day. Thanks.